Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to JCN.
All channels, this is Juliet May. Radio check, over.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of JCN News. This podcast is going to consist of local, state, and national news stories, as well as special guests from time to time. Before we start, hit that like button, subscribe, and share with friends. We'd really appreciate it. Today we'll be talking about Ukraine, the Hunter Biden laptop and investigations, sourcing, and a little bit about the worldview of America. I'm going to try and keep these short and sweet, so let's get right into it. Our first story is Ukraine and Russia. So there's been a brief pause in the Ukrainian crisis. Putin has set his demands, and now we just have to wait and see if they're met or not. So essentially, Joe Biden's sanctions on Russia have contributed to the decline of the ruble, or Russian currency. Vladimir Putin is demanding that in order to buy oil from Russia, these countries have to open accounts within the Russian financial sector, in turn boosting the ruble. As far as Ukraine, I have a source on the ground, and I get small updates from week to week. My source is a great friend. I've known him for many, many years. He's a former U.S. Army infantryman, and he was in Ukraine in the last conflict about 5-6 years ago. His squad basically pushes Russian advancing troops back in order to keep as much Ukrainian occupied land as possible. In recent weeks, they moved to a northern city outskirt and pushed back Russian troops trying to enter their area of operations. Then they were forced to move south to do the same thing. So Russia has basically used a general tactic of encircling Ukrainian cities and attacking them from one side to the other and so on and so forth, with the intent to spread and thin the Ukrainian and supporting forces and use artillery and tank rounds to take them out either while they're en route or while they're in makeshift safe houses. So in other news, the New York Times reports Hunter Biden laptop and investigations are legitimate and 100% true. So in the beginning of this, President Joe Biden, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, and numerous left-leaning legacy media outlets previously stated that this was all Russian misinformation. This is important because the information was censored while the presidential campaign and election of 2020 was underway. Polls show that a large portion of voters wouldn't have voted for Joe Biden if they knew that these stories were true. Which brings us to sourcing. The importance of good sourcing. It's important for us to get reliable information when it comes to the leaders of our nation and much more. When people and outlets that give us the information all keep saying the same thing, and it turns out to be false after the fact, we end up with leaders that are incompetent or corrupt or just flat out wrong for the job. I think we're all starting to realize this with current events and what's been going on nationally. Which brings us to sources that fact check and cite their sources. When outfits cite their sources, you can verify, not to mention the transparency of citing their sources. It builds confidence in that outfit. When you're an open book, people tend to trust you a lot more. When reporting or even having a casual conversation with friends, family, or just somebody on the street, it's good to check your sources so that you know that they're legitimate. We at JCN try to only use sources that can be verified from reputable outlets, and even then, we always do our own research beyond that. If we ever report something that turns out to be wrong, we will update it in later videos with corrections, and the original information will be tagged, but we won't delete it. I'll always own up to my mistakes and be completely 100% transparent about it. So that brings us to a couple of our favorite sources, left, right, and center. We got one for left-leaning. It's going to be JRE, the Joe Rogan Experience. I don't always agree with Joe Rogan's politics, but one thing to be said about Joe Rogan is he is a truth seeker through and through. It doesn't matter if it helps or hurts the left narrative or the right narrative. Joe Rogan is always seeking the truth. Then we have a couple for the right leaning. We got the Daily Wire. These are some very smart guys and gals that definitely line up on the right, but have absolutely outstanding sourcing. Very, very good on the ground reporters, and a really solid foundation. We also have Louder with Crowder. This is Steven Crowder's outfit, their right leaning comedic podcast with amazing sourcing and fact checking. Definitely one of my favorite podcasts to watch. And we also have in the center Temple IRL. Tim has definitely moved further right than his previous stance, but he's still, in my opinion, pretty dead center. These are all regular people at Timcast IRL, and they have all sorts of backgrounds. They have great sourcing, and they're also very much truth seekers. Sometimes they can get a little out there on some crazy stuff, but it's a really, really fun podcast to watch, and they have really good information. So that's going to bring us to the current economic situation in America. Gas prices are through the roof, and they're only going to get worse, I fear. It seems like every week or so, Joe Biden will come out and he's talking about we're going to pull barrels out of the reserve, and guys, this is it's not a sustainable solution. I mean, it's going to drop prices maybe a couple cents here and there, but it's like I said, it's just not sustainable. So oil companies, price gouging versus bad policy and national conflicts. I'm no expert by any means in this field, but I do understand that there are many nuances that go into the pricing of gas and oil, and that it's usually not one variable that makes the price rise out of control. So let me know what you think what you think's making the prices rise out of control. Throw it in the comments. We love to hear from you guys. And that'll bring us to America's world standing and how the world views us at this point. We need to think about how leaders of other countries view our leadership here, and how that equates to how we as Americans are viewed. So my personal opinion is that we're being laughed at. Being prior military, some of what's happened in the last few years, I mean, really has just hurt my heart. So comment below, what do you think other countries see when they look at our president or our leadership and us as Americans? Which will bring us to Joe Biden's cognitive health. So, Dr. Ronnie Jackson, a congressman that served as White House physician under the Bush administration, the Obama administration, and the Trump presidency, has tweeted multiple times about Joe Biden's mental health and cognitive function. With the current events happening now, Dr. Jackson tweeted, this was probably about 3 weeks ago. He said, quote, "He's not physically or cognitively fit to be the president right now. To be our president right now, rather." And he said, quote, "All I know is that he's got age-related cognitive decline. He's not mentally fit right now. He's 78 years old, and you can see it. You don't need to be a physician to look at him and to look at his behavior and some of the other stuff, just the way he shuffles away, stares off into space. I know what the job entails, both physically and mentally, and how demanding it is." Quote, he added, quote, "And I can tell you right now, I'm 100% sure that Joe Biden is incapable of doing that job," end quote. So guys, this is a doctor that was the White House physician for 3 of the last 4 presidents. I mean, this is it's not something that you should just throw out as this guy's crazy. I mean, he is a physician, a doctor, a congressman, and he did the job for 12 years under Republican and Democratic presidents. All that being said, there is hope. Get out there and do your own research. Use multiple sources. so you can check the validity of your research and vote for future candidates that will do what's right and do it with strength and the American people in mind. I can't tell you how important it is to do your own part or do your part in all this, and I think that people are starting to understand why. So again, please hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. As of now, you can find us on YouTube at Juliet Charlie November. You can also find us at Rumble at Jack Henderson 92 with no spaces. And we have an email at jcnest2020@gmail.com. Please don't hesitate to contact us with ideas, advice, criticism. Our show is made for you guys and gals. We're only given this opportunity to bring this content to you because of you. We're completely funded out of pocket, and the stars are the limit. We plan to grow as much as our fan base allows us to, and hopefully we'll be bringing you guys great content for years to come. So get ready and stay tuned. Do what you love. Shoot for the stars. We believe in you. Until next time, I love you all. Juliet Main out.